What's up, guys? It's Johnny from Big Apple Breakdown, and I'm here to preview the NBA playoffs. The regular season just ended today. I will be going over the NBA playoffs throughout the playoffs as they unfold. Just of course, like, subscribe to our content. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming out. As far as these Zooms, Henry and I are going to start getting mics, and we will soon start covering on a daily basis through Zoom. We'll have mics to get the audio better, and we're really excited. We got a lot of fun stuff we're going to do for you guys. So let's get into the NBA playoffs. So the bracket is set as the regular season unfolded today. And if you watch some of the games today, especially the Clippers Warriors game, you really got to preview the playoffs, as that was a playoff intensity in Golden State. So pretty much for that game, the Warriors and Clippers were playing to clinch a playoff spot. The loser had to play in the play-in, which is going to happen Tuesday. And I know I said on the last episode of the show I am very against the play-in, and I find it frustrating that teams in the West have to compete for it. But the NBA does it for a reason, and this is what they want. You know, you had stars with Kawhi Leonard and James Harden and Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler just competing as hard as possible. It really felt like a winner go home vibes, as the Clippers ended up winning in a great game. If you watch that, a real treat for a game 82, which so many teams rest. And the Clippers win that, and they clinch a playoff spot, and the Golden State Warriors have to play in the play-in. So now that the bracket is set, I just want to give a preview of each series, what to expect these playoffs, as I will give a deep breakdown later on this week for each series. So let's start off in the East, and more specifically, your own Big Apple, New York Knicks. So this series was, I believe, the first series officially set a few days ago. The New York Knicks will host the Detroit Pistons. It's a 3-6 matchup. As far as the Detroit Pistons team, this is pretty much, these guys are going to be babies in the playoffs. This is a lot of these guys' first playoff games, as they are led by superstar and young star Cade Cunningham, who's really put the Detroit Pistons on the map, as well as head coach JB Bickerstaff, who, of course, was fired from Cleveland. So what to expect this series? I mean, the Pistons, they're a young, scrappy team, and they really try to physically intimidate you. They have guys like Isaiah Stewart will get in your face, especially a playoff environment. Expect some technical fouls, some hard fouls coming from Detroit. And, I'm not going to call them those great physical Detroit Pistons teams that won championships like the Bad Boy Pistons and the mid 2000s. But for Detroit fans, that's what they are trying to embody, these guys. And they got a good team. I mean, I believe this was the most improved NBA team from last year to this year, as Detroit has been one of the worst teams in the last few years. But they solidify themselves as a play-off team, not even a play-in team, and they will play the Knicks. And for the Knicks, I actually don't like this matchup for them. I think they would have much rather played Milwaukee, who, in my opinion, is kind of a soft team. That they obviously they have a great player like Giannis, and no one in Detroit is as good as Giannis. However, as a team, I don't love that Milwaukee Bucks team, and especially with Damian Lillard hurt. However, the Knicks will be the favorites in this series as the 3 seed. Overall, for the regular season for the Knicks, I think a little disappointing might be the correct way to put it. I think fans expected them to be at maybe not Cleveland's level, but be able to compete with Boston. New York has really struggled with the best teams in the league, and that's who you're going to play in the playoffs. However, this first round matchup, the Garden's going to be going crazy, and I think that's going to really affect some of Detroit's young guys. As you see in young guys, especially young role players, they really play well at home and struggle on the road. And the Garden is a different environment come playoff time, as all Knicks fans know that. Some of the stuff I'm looking at for the Knicks, I wonder how much minutes these starters are going to play. Tom Thibodeau tends to play starters a ton, even in the regular season. And this Knicks team does not have a ton of depth. The starting five is going to play. If I had to guess, I could see every single one of those guys playing 40-plus minutes, unless Deuce McBride's having a good game off the bench. Maybe not 40, but high 30s. Deuce will come off the bench. Mitchell Robinson. DeLon Wright, who's played decent in Jalen Brunson's absence. I don't know how much you'll see of him. Landry Shamet, He's kind of a one-way player. He's a liability defensively. So I'm curious to see how much the Knicks use their bench. Another factor for the Knicks I'm looking at, Karl-Anthony Towns. In his time in Minnesota, he would struggle with a motor, and in the playoffs, there's these games where he looks totally checked out or awesome. And the Knicks really need Karl-Anthony Towns to be in his A game, as he is the 1B to Jalen Brunson's 1A, as those two are a great scoring dynamic. And I look to see if the Knicks defense improves in the playoffs than it did in the regular season. They were shockingly not great defensively this year, which is not like a Tom Thibodeau team. And also Jalen Brunson, he's back from the injury, but with the high minutes and high intensity a physical playoff series could be, especially against the Pistons, who are one of the more physical teams in the league, I look to see how much his injury could bother him with that ankle. But all in all, like I said, the Knicks will be the favorites. I don't think this is gonna be an easy first round matchup for them, and I think this is gonna be a 6 or 7 game series for the Knicks. I don't know my total prediction, but I really like Detroit. I think Cade Cunningham could potentially put his name on the map in this series, but I think the Knicks will be the favorites in this series, and they really should win this series. If they lose this series, it would get really loud there, and I think you could possibly see Tom Thibodeau lose his job and changes happen in the roster. But that's gonna be a fun series for me, and I think just basketball fans will teams are really interested in Knicks always and the Pistons as a team that not a lot of people watch on a daily basis, but in the playoff setting against the Knicks, they're gonna get a lot of attention, and it's a chance for them to put their name on the map. So the other matchup that we have in the Knicks, in the playoffs, sorry, in the Eastern Conference is the Indiana Pacers are the 4 seed, and they will be playing the Milwaukee Bucks. This is a rematch from last year, as Indiana beat the Bucks. However, their Giannis was hurt and Damian Lillard was hurt as well. And unfortunately, Milwaukee cannot escape the injury bug. Since they won the championship in 2021, a key player has always been hurt for them come playoff time. And unfortunately, Damian Lillard is dealing with the blood clot issue. At this very moment, his injury status for this series is uncertain. They are optimistic he'll come back at some point in the playoffs, but we don't know if that's second round, conference finals. And they have their hands full with the Indiana Pacers, who have played them really well. The Pacers are kind of what the Bucks struggle against. They're a young, fast team that shoots a ton of threes. Tyrese Halliburton is the leader of that team, with snipers all over on that team. And Pascal Siakam's going to give you a lot. And this is going to be a fun matchup. This is kind of a small little rivalry in the NBA. These two always seem to play each other, always seem to be in each other's way. And my early look at this series is I don't love the Bucks. I really just ever since they traded for Damian Lillard and fired Mike Budenholzer, they just haven't looked great. I don't love Doc Rivers at this point of his career, and a lot of the guys around Giannis are slow aging players. Brook Lopez isn't once what he was. Bobby Portis isn't great. They have some younger guys stepping up for them, but as well as Taurean Prince is that starting lineup. But if there's no Damian Lillard in the series, it's really going to be Giannis just carrying this team, doing everything he can. I think you might see him put up some crazy numbers, but overall, I think Indiana's a much deeper team. I think they're a better coach team under Rick Carlisle, and I think they're the clear favorites in this series. I know people are going to look at the Bucks. They have the best player once again in this series, but I just don't love where that team's going. And I think this could be another longer series. I don't know if it's going to go 7, but early on, I haven't done a full breakdown on this series, but I liked Indiana. Last year, they made the conference finals. They beat the New York Knicks despite some injury luck they had. But the way Indiana plays, I don't like how Milwaukee matches up against them. And I haven't loved how Milwaukee's looked. I think the Knicks would have much rather preferred to play them than the Pistons, just from an outsider's view. But overall, that would be a nice, fun series. As far as the playing in the East, I really don't have much interest in the East playing because Cleveland and Boston both handle whoever they play easily. I think by far Orlando's the best team out of the playing group there. However, none of those teams pose a threat to Cleveland or Boston. Orlando will probably beat the Hawks, in my opinion, as those two play for the 7-8 spot. And then the Bulls, Heat, um, whoever comes out to the 8 slot, whether it's the Hawks, Bulls, or Heat, I don't think they get more than a game off Cleveland, and that's being generous, in my opinion. Orlando, like I mentioned, they're a better team than what their record shows. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. Paulo Banchero, who's going to be a future superstar one day, and Franz Wagner is a great player, and Jamal Mosley has done a really good job with that team. However, just how they're going to be lined up, I don't like their matchup against Boston. I expect them to beat the Hawks, and Boston tends to have a bad shooting game where they're just off. I could see Orlando stealing one there, but once again, I think the Cavs and the Celtics just have a 99.5% chance to win these series, and they're really the only two teams out of all these series that have such a clear favorite, and they're pretty much a bye in my view. These lower tier East teams just pose no threat. Moving on to the Western Conference playoffs, which this is just a loaded conference. There's just so many good teams. When it came down to the year, there were 8 teams that really 7. The Thunder were clearly the 1 seed. They've been the best team record-wise all year in the Western Conference. However, there were 7 teams competing, and none of them wanted to be in the play-in. And it came down to the last day. It ended up being the Golden State Warriors who lost to the Los Angeles Clippers, like we mentioned earlier. Memphis, their season's kind of falling apart. They fired Taylor Jenkins, their head coach, was very surprising. You don't tend to see good teams do that mid-year, that close to the playoffs. But then the Nuggets did the same thing with Mike Malone, which was even more surprising. But the Grizzlies are kind of in a sinking ship. They were the 2 seed for really the first, I would say pretty handily, the first 50-55 games. Their season kind of fell apart. Now they're down to 8. They're playing the play-in at Golden State. I fully expect the Warriors to win that game. You never know, though, as Golden State, I believe, is 0-3 in the play-in overall since it started. So I really think the Warriors should handle Memphis. They're a better team than Memphis. Golden State's played so well since the Jimmy Butler trade. But in the West, man, it just shows that you can't start off 25-26, and it's tough. They played pretty much as good as a team can over the last 30 games of the year, and they're in the play-in off a play or two, pretty much against the Clippers. A play or two goes different. They win that game, and now they're in the play-in, which these teams do not want to be, especially a team like Golden State really could use the rest from a week in between the series. But if I'm a Golden State Warriors fan, I don't think it's the end of the world because they would have had to face the Los Angeles Lakers, who are a much bigger threat, and they would probably be the underdogs. And they probably, if they end up beating Memphis, I expect them to be the favorites against the 2 seed Rockets. The Rockets have been a great team all year. However, in the West with so many great veterans, so many stars, so many guys with rings on their resume, a team like the Rockets just isn't going to be a favorite against a team like the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Warriors. These are guys that have MVPs on their resume, multiple All-Stars, have been there, done that in the playoffs. And it's sports. You gotta show you can do it in the playoffs before you get real respect. And that's why I don't think it's the end of the world if you're the Warriors. You got to handle your business against Memphis. That is by far the biggest game of the year because if you lose that, then you're 1 game for your season. And even if you win, you play a 66, 67 win team, Thunder, which is not a good matchup, as they would definitely not be the favorite. As although the Thunder don't have a lot of experience, they were the 1 seed last year, they're the 1 seed this year, and really have been the best team in the league this year. Shea's probably going to win the MVP. So you don't want to be the 8th seed in the West. Not at all. And let's just say Golden State wins and they play the Rockets. In that series, I'm leaning Golden State. Jimmy Butler was hobbling at the end of that Clippers game. So if he's hurt, oh God, that's really not good as they need him. But assuming he'll be okay and he should be playing, really like that matchup for the Golden State. Golden State likes to play small, and the Rockets have a big lineup where they run Steven Adams, Sengun together sometimes, and Jabari Smith and Sengun play a lot together. That's your starting lineup. And I think the Golden State speed off the ball would just really hurt that Houston Rockets team in a 7 game series. But so I've talked about that a little bit. As far as the 8 seed, assuming Golden State is 7, Memphis I think would be Dallas or the Kings. I don't really have a lot of interest in that 9-10 game. Dallas just ruined their season by trading Luka Doncic. Of course, such a stupid trade as we wrecked that earlier. As it's aged horribly so far in the first year. Kings, it's the mid team. If I had to pick a team to win that playing game, I would say Dallas, I guess. And then I'll just give my West play-ins real quick predictions. I would think Golden State will beat Memphis, and then I guess Memphis will beat Dallas. Memphis really should beat Dallas. They're still a 48-win team, 47-win team, and they're the 8 seed. They're a lot better than Dallas's record. And with Dallas's injuries, no Kyrie Irving, Memphis is a better team. So moving on to the series we haven't covered. So the Lakers will be playing the Timberwolves. I really like the matchup for the Lakers. I think the bracket in the West is looking good for them, as although I think they would be the favorites over the Warriors and they should beat the Warriors. You don't want to see them in the first round. A team like the Timberwolves is much more appealing matchup for you, as Luka, beat them in the Western Conference Finals last year. Of course, he was with Dallas. Now he's with the Lakers. And I fully expect him to continue to target Rudy Gobert in a 7 game series, just keep going at him. And I really like the way the Lakers have looked since the trade. They've been playing some of their best basketball. And Luka, these last few games of the regular season, has looked really good. He's getting his full speed. I think he's finally feeling 100% comfortable with the Lakers. And they're a team to really look out for. As far as the Timberwolves in that series, of course, they have a young superstar in Anthony Edwards. They got a lot of length on that team, but the Lakers tend to go small ball and they tend to play better against big teams. And I'm very curious to see if Rudy is able to play in crunch time, because of course, Luka has that iconic buzzer beater against him, but Luka's just going to keep going at him in crunch time. He's going to attack him, ISOs. Luka just had a crazy series against them last year. And I mean, I just think as a big three, LeBron, Austin Reeves, and Luka are so hard to stop. For the Lakers, I'm a little concerned how they're going to guard Anthony Edwards. I think Jared Vanderbilt's a very good defender, and that's who they'll put on when he's in the game. However, Coach JJ Redick hasn't been playing Vando more than 15 to 18 minutes a game. And I kind of expect that to stay. So you'll see Dorian Finney-Smith guard him, maybe Rui. It's going to be by committee. I could see a lot of double teams. I'm very concerned about how Julius Randle is going to play in this series, as when he was with the Knicks, he just tend to look awful in the playoffs. And I could see I think LeBron will be guarding Julius Randle, who is a big guy that could not be backed down by Julius Randle. They're pretty similar body, but LeBron, even at age 40, is still one of the bigger, stronger guys in the league. And I really like this matchup for the Lakers. I think they're clearly the favorites. This is one of the more obvious picks in the West first round to me, besides whoever the Thunder will play. They'll probably win in 4 or 5 games. Probably sweep, honestly. But I think the series will go 5 or 6 games, just an early out. Look, Edwards is going to have crazy performances. And, DiVincenzo could give the Lakers problems. Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Minnesota's got a lot of good players, and their depth is pretty good. I think a big thing for the Lakers is how Gabe Vincent and Dorian Finney-Smith will shoot, as those guys get a lot of open looks. As, of course, when you have guys like LeBron and Luka, you're going to get guys open looks. And I wonder how much the Lakers go small ball. But that'll be a fun series to see. The last first round matchup. To me, this is the best. This is going to be the most entertaining matchup in the first round. The Nuggets and Clippers. Clippers have been playing awesome basketball. I believe they've won 8 or 9 straight to finish out the year, and they get to the 5 seed. Nuggets have really been trending on the downwards. Of course, firing Mike Malone, a championship coach, came out of nowhere. It was just a total shock. But for the Nuggets, both these teams are very center made with Zubac and Jokic. I could see those guys matching each other in minutes. Could be Jokic would play 40 minutes a game, 38 minutes a game. Zubac will play a lot. Um, Clippers got a really good defense. Of course, Kawhi Leonard looked awesome, just awesome in this game against the Warriors. So did James Harden. So if those guys are good and going, I mean, it's gonna be hard to stop the Clippers with their Chris Dunn played awesome defense and Steph Curry. I think he could give Jamal Murray a lot of issues, especially Murray, who just got back from injury. Denver's defense has just been an issue all year. Their depth is terrible, to be honest with you. And I don't know. I wonder how much they play Russell Westbrook in a playoff series because Russell Westbrook always historically, even in his prime, plays worse in the playoffs. And to me, I don't think he's an NBA player you can play in the playoffs. So I think the Clippers, had Westbrook on the team, they would just ignore him. Jokic is going to put up some crazy numbers this series. This could be an entertaining. I think the series is going 7 games. It's a coin flip who's going to win because Jokic and Jamal Murray are such good playoff players. Jokic is the best player in the world to me, and Clippers have been playing red hot. This could be a really, really fun series. I cannot wait for it. Uh, Winner plays Oklahoma City, and I think either team could give Oklahoma City troubles. I don't necessarily know. I'd pick them to win. As far as the Western Conference, as a whole, I think the Lakers and the Oklahoma City Thunder are the two best teams, and I think a Western Conference Finals meetup is very possible between those two teams. Lakers will probably, if I'm leaning the Warriors, they'll probably end up playing the Warriors in the second round. That's going to be a fun series. LeBron and Steph always playing historically. They always run into each other. Seems like these two will be doing it forever if that ends up happening. NBA will love that. That will see the ratings probably the highest besides the NBA Finals. So, yeah, I mean, the West, like, I know I've been leaning along the Lakers, as many of you know, I'm a Laker fan. So it's hard. The Timberwolves are a very good team. I mean, they made the conference finals last year. Of course, that was before they traded Karl-Anthony Towns. They're a good team. Edwards is a young star, and it's not going to be an easy series for the Lakers. There's no easy series in the West. It's that good. The only series that's going to be a no chance series is if Memphis ends up playing the Thunder or Dallas or Sacramento somehow. But besides that, these teams in the West are going to be in a bloodbath. I think you'll see 6 or 7 games possibly in all these series except the Oklahoma City Thunder series. I would not be shocked if all the series went 6 or more. As far as the East, it's just tough because I really don't like the Knicks in Boston if they play. I think the Knicks have as close you could get to 0% as possible if they match up against the Boston. And I think the Celtics beat them 4 or 5 games. I really don't like the way the Knicks have looked against them. I don't love this Knicks team. It seems like some of that grit that they used to have is not there this year. Brunson's really gonna have to carry the team. I think the East is headed towards a Cavs-Celtics meetup, which would be a very entertaining series. As for maybe if Milwaukee, like when Dame and Giannis, it's frustrating because Dame and Giannis should be a better duo. They should be better than what they are as a team. Bucks, maybe playoff Dame and Giannis go off. They could give Cleveland a troubling matchup in round 2. I don't see that. Look, I'm excited for the playoffs as such a fun time of the year. I'm going to be recapping games all the time. Be going over on a daily basis what's going on. I'm going to give you guys more of these. I'll give my official predictions later on this week. But, I just want to talk about the standings. Of my official East playing predictions, I got Orlando over Atlanta. I think Orlando's by far the best team in the East playing. And then I guess I'll go Bulls over the Heat. And Bulls Hawks is honestly a toss up. I actually think I'm going to go with the Bulls. They played a lot better towards the second half of the year, and Hawks and Heat are just two franchises. You don't really know where they're headed. It's kind of a lot of the East teams that are lower down. But those are my official play-in predictions. I'll Orlando will be the 7, and I'm gonna go Chicago the 8, and then the West. I'm gonna say the Warriors beat Memphis, and I'm gonna say Memphis beats Dallas in the 8-9 series game. But I'm gonna keep giving you guys content as the playoffs come through. This is definitely fun. Henry and I are gonna just get where one of us just hops on something we want to talk about. It's on our mind. Uh, Thanks for all the support, guys. Our channel's really growing a lot, and we're really excited to give you guys even more content as time goes on. Thanks, guys. Keep watching us. Thank you.